Welcome to the Chain Out Podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Daryl.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 47, the Discmania Open recap show. I'm Jeremy, and directly beside me is your favorite co-host, Daryl. How you doing, buddy?
Doing fantastic, Jeremy. Nice to have you here.
Yeah.
Strange to have you here beside me, but we made it work. We got the new camera. Hopefully you can tell there's a little bit of better quality on this episode.
Yeah, you guys get to see how wonderful I look when I'm lit properly, and I've got a great background and setup behind me.
Speaking of backgrounds, Jeremy, should just give a quick shout out to an Edmonton disco fan of the show. Fan? Can we say fans?
Listeners.
Listeners, that's what we like to say. Listener of the show. Chad, he donated a piece of Edmonton memorabilia.
Yeah.
You can see it behind us.
Can I do this? Oh, yeah, look at this. Look how good I did.
Yeah. So for those that remember, we remember, it's not even been a year yet, I don't think. But
no.
In Edmonton, we used to have a disc golf store called Gander. Unfortunately, they're no longer around anymore. And during the sell-off event, when they were getting rid of all their stock and merchandise and everything like that, he knew Calvin and said, "Hey, what are you doing with your sign?" So I think he bought it off him. He may have just been giving it to him. I'm not sure, but he had it. It was a nice bit of memorabilia that he didn't want the store or his memory to go away. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Chad's moving very fortunately, he's moving to Radium.
Oh yeah, that's a great spot
go and live in Radium. Yeah. So he said, you know what? Rather than it just go in a dumpster or in his attic or in a box somewhere and gathering dust, why not give it to the Chain Out podcast where it can continue to live? So Gander washroom sign lives on.
5 stars, would poop here again.
There you go.
Probably the best rating you can give a washroom.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, speaking of ratings, it was ratings day this week. It happened on Tuesday.
Yeah.
How did it treat you, Daryl?
Pretty good. Yeah, I think my little win that I got there kind of gave me a bit of a boost. I went back up over 850 rated, 851.
Yeah, 8 points up you went there, which is awesome.
Worked good.
And then for myself, well, I was out at Nationals, and I told you I had an amazing time there. I had a lot of fun. I felt like I was throwing well, but the scores didn't quite reflect it.
Yeah.
And neither did my rating. So my rating dropped 3 points. I'm under 850 now, down to 847, and you are now winning the Chain Out ratings battle that we've been having
by 4 points. Yeah.
Yes.
If there is a
A battle?
A battle, yeah.
Yeah, I
Instead
think,
of
well,
contest,
it
but-
seems like every ratings day we kind of trade spots. One of us is above the other one. And now it's your turn here. So I'm hoping
But I mean,
November.
4 points, that's nothing between friends, right?
No, nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
we're pretty
That's
much
easy.
the same. We're in the same division. It's not like we talked about last week with Chad. It's not like the point, the rating is going to force me into a different division than you're in. So
Right. Yeah. Well, that's it. And then also we want to know from the listeners, anyone watching today or watching this after the fact, put it in the comments. How did ratings day treat you?
yeah, Brock just put it in here. Up 21 points.
21 points, Brock? Holy crow.
Up 21 points to what, Brock?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We also know our buddy Mark Thompson. He had a goal this year of getting over 900. He went up 10 points his first time over 900. He's at 907. So congrats to Mark.
Yeah. Just want to give a quick shout out. You mentioned in the chat there. Let's give a quick shout out. Sonia's watching, Brock's watching, and Jeremy.
Yeah.
Somebody here watching from Charlton, Massachusetts.
Charlton, Massachusetts. Yes. Awesome. You have to forgive us for our accents. We do our best, but you're probably already making fun of our Canadian accents down in Charlton. But welcome to the show. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. So that's something. I got some news for you though too, buddy.
Well, no, we got to keep rolling with the ratings.
Oh.
Let me just put this up on the stream as well, because this is a pretty important one. Oh my goodness, we're getting so much involvement. Brock's up to 894.
Sweet. Good job, Brock. Karen Martell, 900 Club. Yes.
There you go. Isn't that the dream for everybody?
Yeah. And we've got so many great FPO Canadian players now that are hitting that 900 mark. Rebecca Dawn just hit it this year. We knew that was one of her goals. And now Karen's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You better watch out there, Disc Golf Pro Tour. We got FPOs coming your way.
Yeah. And Luke is in the chat as well. Hi, Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's
Good
good.
involvement.
I did have a little news. I'm going to keep it short because I don't want to toot my own horn too much. But one of our other battles that we have, Daryl, was you earned yourself your second ace recently here.
If you want to call it an ace. Yeah. What happened to you, Jeremy?
Well, I got my third ace,
You
sir.
did?
Yeah.
Give you a round of applause there. Your third. Yeah, you couldn't let me have, you had two and I had one.
Mm-hmm.
And then for quite a while, I was stuck at one. And then I happened to get my second ace. And then, not even a week later, you go and drop in your third and take the lead back again. So
Yeah. Well, I was out last Thursday. I dropped a message in the Discord, saw if anyone wanted to come out and play at Langholm with me. Sam Western, Zoltan, and Brock all came out. And we played a nice round. I got to hole 5 at Langholm, one that I've been close to a couple times with some skips and stuff like that. Through that resistor, that nice overstable resistor, forehand flex, went around, smash into the chains. We all just cheered. Well, I cheered. I don't know what everyone else did. I kind of blanked out there for a minute.
Did you run it down?
No, I didn't run it down. I asked them. I said, "Do you guys want me to get that out of the way so it doesn't interfere with your aces?"
Awesome.
But it was good. So I've got a disc that's covered in ink now. I had them sign it. I've got the date. It was just over a year since my last ace. So
All right.
yeah.
Get one a year. I think everyone would be happy with that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, why don't we tell the listeners what we got going on tonight?
We should do that, shouldn't we?
You bet.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about the 10th Canadian A tier that happened in 2024. That's the Discmania Open.
Yeah, we'll tell you how the fantasy picks went this week from our show last week.
Yeah. We're going to do a quick recap of the Cold Garden Cup finals.
And then to start our interviews, we will have Discmania Open tournament directors, Luke Richard and Ben Smith, joining us.
Yeah. Then we'll have the FPO winner, Rose Shertick.
And then MPO winner Dylan Goudey spoke with us earlier tonight, and we'll share that interview.
Yeah. And then for all you, the new people that are watching, what we tend to do is we record these. It's better when I do it on my own.
Yeah. Can't take me anywhere.
We record these live streams and we put them out on YouTube so anyone can go back and watch them. And what we find is we like people watching them, but we like to make sure that people watch to the end. So during the show, we come up with secret words so that when you go back and watch it live or watch it back on YouTube, drop the secret word in the comments, and that way we know you watched all the way to the end. So stay tuned for the secret word coming up at the end. And
Yes.
if you watched last episode, we interviewed Chance Stad.
Yeah.
So we have the giveaway. So we'll update you on who the lucky winner of the Chance Stad signed disc is.
Yeah, the entropy. And that one got a lot of action and traffic on Instagram there. A lot of people were interested in that disc, so happy
Yeah.
to give it away.
Yeah, it's a good disc.
Well, shall we start with the fantasy picks and let's zip through that?
We will. Unfortunately, this is going to be a little bit different than it normally is because technical difficulties, meaning I forgot. We're not going to have the graphics.
It'll be a strictly audio version.
Yeah.
So the Discmania Open went down last weekend. It was the 10th Canadian A tier this year out of 11.
Yep.
And we did our fantasy picks show. And who do we have join us last week?
Last week was the title sponsor. The fantasy show is sponsored by BR Disc Golf. Vote on our Instagram post for your chance to win a $10 gift card from BR. So we thought, why not? We may as well get the owner of the BR Disc Golf store on the podcast. We were joined by Brendan McKinstry.
Oh, and it was fantastic to have him on. He's up there in northern Alberta. First time we had him on for a full interview. If you go back and watch that, there was a couple hiccups in that one. There's a weird guy with a mustache that showed up halfway through the episode. This one, crystal clear internet. I don't know if he was Starlink or what he had going on, but it was awesome.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, BR Disc Golf, big shout out to them. They give us gift cards to give away for our fantasy picks episodes. Depending on how many points we get, we'll get $10, $15, $20 gift cards to give away. We'll put that draw together and we'll make sure somebody gets the one for this week. So, and they were offering $5 shipping during Rundle League, but Rundle League's now done. So there's other ways. You just reach out to Brendan.
Reach out to Brendan. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he'll find a way to get you some discs. So normally, Daryl, 22 points would be a perfect score if we had a full FPO MPO field. But in this case here, we didn't quite have that. We had enough to do 3 MPO picks each and then 1 FPO pick each, which gave us a maximum points of 16.
Yeah.
Did anybody get that?
No, it was close, but nobody got 16.
All right. So why don't you rock us through? How did it look?
So what we should say, like you said about in the normal way things, we normally pick 3 MPO, 3 FPO when the field is deep enough. This one we didn't have enough FPO, so it was just a 3 and the 1.
Yep.
So I put my team out there. You picked your team. Brendan picked his. Everybody thought we each had the best team. But when we added up the points at the end of the weekend, Jeremy, and for people that don't know, I've been leading since week 1, I think. I don't think I've lost the lead.
Yeah, it's such a juxtaposition. You came in so unprepared for our first picks.
Which is why my team is called Team Shambles.
Yes. And then you went ahead and started going on a winning streak, almost like the Oilers last year. When everyone said they were out, they just started winning. It was the same thing. We just had to call you Team Shambles, and then you were on fire.
That's it. Yeah. But not this week, though, Jeremy. Yeah.
Nope.
This week, Brendan took down the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have his team up in front of me, but I know he got the MPO winner, Dylan Goudey.
Yeah.
He had 2 other points, and he got I believe he picked Karen.
He had Karen Martel.
Karen, who also got on the podium.
Yeah.
So he took down the win with 10 points, and then I must have come second. No, wait, I didn't even come second, Jeremy. You came second with 9 points.
Yeah, I had 3 podiums.
3 podiums, yeah. And then I was bringing up the rear. I did get the FPO pick. I did pick Rose.
Yes.
But unfortunately, my other MPO picks kind of let me down a little bit. So I pulled up the rear with 7 points. So the tournament standings, the point standings so far, if you add those points to our previous totals, Team J-Pow is bringing up the rear, but you're closing the gap. You have 75 points.
No, I'm up to 84 now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
84 points. Team Guest, when Brendan's team was Team Living in a Fantasy World, Team Guest Invite now is up to 91 points, but Team Shambles is still leading at the moment with 101. So they're definitely closing the gap.
Yeah, it is getting there. He's only 10, Team Guest is only 10 points away.
Yeah.
If you have a tough set of picks in the last tournament,
yeah,
and they have a great set of picks, there could be a last minute swing.
Yeah.
Now for me, I don't know what's going to happen. You're going to have to give me double or nothing or something like that.
We did mention that in the other episode, but we didn't think it was right just to use it as on the last event. But season 2, we will definitely work it so that maybe we'll make it a bit better so that the Canadian Nationals or any other big standout event will be worth a point, 1.5 points or double points or something like that. But
yeah,
overall, out of the 10 A tiers that we've done so far, We did have a double episode, so it doesn't quite work out. And we had draws as well. So at the moment, I'm winning. I've won 7 events.
Yes.
Team J Powell, you've won 1, and Team Guest Invite has won 5 events now.
Yeah, they're getting up there too. I guess they
Yeah.
can't beat you on that part. You've kind of got that one in the bag.
Got
now.
that one locked in. So
Yeah.
the only way you can win, well, you can't win.
No. And then we have the fan vote, and this week the fan vote was won by Team Living in a Fantasy World. Brendan's
Yeah.
team Guest won.
Yeah, team. I think he had 44% of the votes, and me and you were tied for 28%. So
Yeah.
all those people that followed our Instagram, voted on our post. We'll put out a poll whenever we do an A tier. You vote on the poll with your favorite team. All those people, and on Facebook, we do put it out on Facebook as well. And if you watch the fantasy episode on YouTube, leave a comment with your pick as well. All those people get entered into the gift card giveaway from BR. So we will do that this week, and we will announce the winners on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next Canadian A tier is coming up here October 18th to 20th. It's the final one of the year. It's the Ontario Provincial Disc Golf Championships presented by MVP Disc Sports. That's a really big acronym if you shorten that one up, hey?
Yeah.
The OPDGCPMDS.
Put that on a mini. Yeah.
But we're going to have another guest for you. We've got some ideas to have a great Ontario guest who might actually have a leg up on us when it comes to the picks for that event.
Yeah.
But we will have another great fantasy pick event there, and be sure to pick a team and to vote for your favorite team then too. All right. We've talked about it all year.
Yep.
Out in Alberta here, and a little bit BC and a little bit Saskatchewan, it's the first year of the Cold Garden Cup. A bunch of events. I think it was 13 events or something, 14 events.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how many.
Yeah, it was going on, and the championships just took place over the weekend. The championships, as we were telling you, was an opportunity for players to get 3 times the points for that event. So there could be some big swings. And on the MPO side, it was pretty close. So we got to the end there. You had Casey Hannemeyer and Noah Higgins. Casey was substantially behind in the points.
Yep.
So he really needed this win. And Noah was trying everything he could to stop him from taking it. But Casey ended up winning it by 6 strokes and tightened up that lead on to Noah. But in the end,
Yeah.
Noah Higgins comes out as your MPO Cold Garden Cup winner.
Congratulations. Yeah, 243 points to 239.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was close.
So it was a great win by Casey, but he needed Noah to be 3rd maybe. That's probably all it was, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we talked about it last week as well. On the FPO side, there were no FPOs registered for the championship. So as it stood last week, Terry Hong, Edmonton local, Terry Hong took down the FPO win.
Yeah. Yeah, Terry Hong took it down, and she had it by a ton of points.
Yeah.
Right, so it was one of those ones where someone would have had to come in and really rock it and have Terry not show up. But instead, everyone said, you know what, Terry, you worked hard. You earned it. Congratulations on your Cold Garden Cup win for the first year as the FPO winner.
Yeah.
Now, I did look at the other names, Daryl, and there are a ton of names of other people who won in other divisions.
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to do is shout out a couple of our listeners, like Jennifer Brown,
Right.
Jana Olson, as well as friends of the show, Wally O'Volley and Kai Sotnikow. They all won their respective divisions. So congratulations to them.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy who says, oh yeah, come on the show, you're going to win something. But listening to the show, coming on the show, definitely helps, I'm sure. It doesn't hurt anything, I don't think, does it? When
No.
you're trying to compete in something? So
We have that, what do you want to call it? We're that good luck charm.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so thanks to Jordan Alway, Cold Garden Brewing, for putting on a great event. We can't wait to see what it looks like next year. When you get that keg there, Noah, make sure to get some good pictures and put that up on Instagram so we can like and share that with everybody as well.
Yeah.
And now, normally, Daryl, one of the other things we'll do is we'll give everyone an idea of what the Canadian pros are doing out on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I've got a really just quick, short one for us tonight.
Okay.
And what I've got is that the USDGC and the Throw Pink tournament are taking place this weekend down at Winthrop.
Yeah.
And we want to wish good luck to Thomas Gilbert, Marty Hendel. They're representing at USDGC Canadians for the MPO side.
Yeah.
And I thought we only had one FPO, but when I was looking today, we now have 3 FPOs. We have Chantel Badinsky's going to be down there. Rebecca Dawn, who picked up her win at the RIP to get there. And just recently, like I think this last weekend, Sandy Hendel picked up her entry as well.
Yeah, I did see that. I seen that she was registered. It's awesome.
So that's fantastic. So congratulations to I guess for getting your spots is the first thing. Like earning that spot's hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
And now good luck in the tournament, and we can't wait to watch it, and hopefully we'll get you on coverage, or you'll get onto coverage and we'll get a chance to see some throws. So without further ado, Daryl.
Yeah.
Are we ready to rock?
I think we are.
Okay.
I think we had a little bit of a teaser there, but let's go ahead.
All right. So we're going to get right to our guests here. We are lucky enough to have both tournament directors of the Discmania Open joining us tonight. Luc Richard has been a PDGA member since 2020 and plays in one of the coolest divisions. You know what that one is.
Would it be the MP40 division?
MA40.
MA40.
That's the coolest division. You said MP.
MP, well. Okay.
Yeah, so MA is the coolest. And then Ben Smith has been a PDG member all the way back since 2008, has played in 127 events with 33 career wins, both in MPO and in MP40, which would be the second coolest division.
Okay.
Would be MP40. So let's bring them right on to hear all about this amazing event. Welcome, Ben and Luke. And
hey guys.
Hey. How's it going, Luke?
Great, yourself?
Good. Thanks for staying up late and joining us tonight.
Hey, it's a pleasure, and thanks for having us on here.
Yeah, you bet.
Absolutely.
So in the past, we've been given a hard time for calling Ontario Eastern Canada. Well, tonight, there will be no mistakes because you're out in Nova Scotia, and now we're talking to the real Eastern Canada. So we're excited about that.
Exactly.
Well, one of the
first... the Maritimes.
That's right. We actually get to that Atlantic time zone, or at least we did with Dylan earlier when we talked to him. So
exactly, yep.
Yeah. One of the first things we want to do after these big A-tier events, Luke, is we just want to make sure that our TDs are okay. So how are things going? Is everything wrapped up in regards to the tournament? Have you gotten any sleep?
Hangover, I must say. But back to reality and already looking at, in a few weeks from now, organizing my own fundraiser event, and then starting to look at next year. We're already in the planning stages for next year.
Oh, really? Is that it starts this early that you're... So do you have kind of a wrap up where you talk about how the event went and then start rolling into the plans for next year?
Absolutely. We usually, I don't know if Ben's on now. We usually have a debriefing. There he is.
There we go.
Hey, Ben, welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we kind of do our own thing. We have our nightly debriefings. Myself, Ben, Duncan, and the other people that are involved. So it's an ongoing process.
Yeah. And how do you feel about your tournament directing team and all the people that you had? Did you have a great team for this event?
Ben, I'll let you speak to that. I think I'm pretty satisfied.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we're 10 years deep into this now, and we've gathered strength every year, and we're at our, by far our most robust team that we've ever had. So there's nothing but positive, nothing but positivity to be said about the group that we have right now.
Nice. No, that's great. Now, of course, we're out here in Alberta, so we're a little far removed, but we do our best to take a look on PDGA, try to follow, and we're very excited once the Park Pro coverage comes out in a few months. We'll be all over that, watching it. But tell us a little bit about the history of the Discmania Open and all of its iterations. How long has it been going on?
So primarily, you could say that this is a direct result from an idea that we had 11 years ago. And we ran, as we've often joked, the worst acronym in disc golf history, the East Coast Disc Golf Championship, which was suggested to us as we had kind of put our feet in the water to want to host a national championship at some juncture.
Right.
So Brian Honegger, whom many of your listeners, watchers will know, who's been instrumental in Canadian growth in disc golf throughout the years, going back to the 80s, gave us kind of a short list of things to do. And so we started to progress down that road and satisfy that criteria. And eventually, that became the 2017 Canadian National Championships, 2018, 19, 20, and 21. If I have my years all correct. Now, obviously, 2 of those years were COVID. I think I have my years a little mixed up, but there was 5 years of national championships in there with several B tiers before that. And so we've kind of held this date just after peak season because many people will know PEI is an incredible place to play disc golf, but it's also a tourist destination in the summer, so it is very packed. So
Right.
working with the island government, they asked us if we could do these things on shoulder seasons. So, yeah, 11 years deep into this. Last year we held the first ever Pro Tour event in Canada. At Rose Valley, another one of the Flickline courses, and another one that Luke was instrumental in helping out with, were some of our team members that again have gained in strength over the years. And then this one was kind of, in some ways, it was the pinnacle. For myself, who've been playing disc golf since 2001. I remember a time where disc golf was 40 people came to an event. They all stayed at the TD's house. You ate dinner together. It was shotgun. Everybody was together all the time. The COVID turn was beneficial for us in many ways. Obviously, we grew hugely in numbers, but it went to tea times and less togetherness in some regards. Mm-hmm. And so as we progressed down this road, this event allowed us to be on one course. Yes, it was still tea timed, but we all kind of gathered together and really had that celebratory feel, and it felt very much like it used to feel back in the early days of disc golf. So there was guitars by the campfire, a huge chunk of us all stayed together. You were kind of checking in and out of other people's rounds, watching some of the holes from where we were camping. You could see hole 18 from kind of where everybody concluded. And it was in a lot of ways a throwback to the roots of where disc golf was. There is some differences, of course. We didn't have quite the big amount of touring players like we have. But the calendar is just getting much harder to navigate, and pros are dropping a lot of direction.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. That's good that you mentioned about that you touched on like what it used to be in that type of atmosphere, because out west here there's an event called Falcon's Flight, and okay, so you know about it.
I'm aware of Rudy and much of the legwork that has been done to make that such a keystone event in Canadian. And I hope more of your listeners do know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it when we were told about it, it was the same sort of thing. It wasn't just an event; it was a weekend. It was a whole community event. It was the campfire. It was the on-site camping. It was everything that, like you said, it had that throwback to disc golf tournaments of days gone by. So I can imagine that it's, with COVID and all that, the tournament atmosphere has changed, but it's good to see that, some tournaments are getting back to that, and not forgetting that type of atmosphere. And I know Carrie Neal said the same thing, that when we interviewed her, she, that was what she hopes that every new disc golfer that gets in and goes to tournaments kind of can see where it came from. And this is, what disc golf is really all about.
Well, Carrie and I spent some time together this winter in Winnipeg, and we talked a lot about some of these things. And sorry, don't jump in just real quick, but I think it's important to know that as disc golf kind of evolves, we need to have some intention behind what it is that we're doing. And both Luke and I are actually kind of going in slightly different directions right now, where I've hosted some national championships. Luke's been a part of that. I know he has a desire to see his kind of local course and city really take that next big step, which, we're all rooting for. But I'm actually looking to downsize a little from the event size and structure and kind of stick with these quality ones. But what I think is most amazing is that, Luke runs amazing events in his place, but we have such a bounty of options now, where before it was like, hey, there's 6 events. Would you like to play all 6 of them? Great. There's your PDGA season.
Yeah, there
Luke,
you go.
We have 55, 60 events in Atlantic Canada. Right now, you can basically play one a weekend, right?
Yeah. Well, I was checking out the Kings Pine Mount Stewart area there, and I was looking at the amazing caddy book you guys put together, and it does look like you had the perfect area with a great big field area, a camping area, washrooms on site. It looked like, even just from the caddy book, I'm like, yeah, I could see how that would be a great place to hang out for a weekend and spend time with other disc golfers. So that's really cool. But one question we wanted to ask you with that is, we know that PEI was hit pretty hard with Hurricane Fiona. Was this one of the courses that did get hit by it? And how have courses in general just recovered over the past 2 years?
Yeah, let me just drop back to that caddy book, because
Sure.
that is Luke and Rick, one of Luke's right-hand men in Moncton, and they did knock that thing out of the park.
Oh, Daryl, I'll show it to you after. It's amazing.
yeah.
It really is. So those two gentlemen need to take a lot of credit for that. But speaking to the destruction and the post kind of Fiona world, three courses on the island were hit with real significant damage. I mean, every course had some, but it was kind of a progressive damage. Rose Valley, where we held the Pro Tour last year, had about 20% of the tree cover that was affected in some way, almost all negative, of course.
Right.
Hillcrest hovered around that 60% mark.
Wow.
Devastating. Luckily for Hillcrest, much of the course remained intact. So if you played it before and you played it now, like, the holes are the same. Kings Pine, unfortunately, was about 85% tree cover. And no hole that existed before exists now. So It was a complete rebuild and a redesign. I would argue that the physical work was demanding and massively difficult, but that paled in comparison to the mental fortitude that it took to withstand the idea of starting from scratch. Right. What you need to understand is that we took about 16 to 22 months to meticulously carve out Kings Pine.
Okay.
We used a rubber-tired tree harvester. We really made no tracks in there. We brought in a forester who is kind of a world leader in select harvest. When that course finished, there was shade cover all over the ground. There was a canopy that stretched the entirety of the sky, and it was only open 5 weeks. So the course never really got to mature into what it could have been. So to only be open 5 weeks, and you can imagine what it takes to build a championship course.
Oh, yeah.
The fact the Gills, the owners, were willing to kind of start over was probably the most, I don't even have a word for it. Because my course, I have a private course behind us here. I just pointed back there as if you and our listeners, but I've not had the mental fortitude to rebuild it.
Okay.
There's still trees down that are too complex for me and my chainsaw and my tractor to take out. And after 2 years, it's still too depressing, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So the fact that, Kim and Carson, and they had lots of people like Luke from off island and lots of people on island willing to help, but it's a very delicate balance to find the right type of help, because you have to be safety trained, and so it was a thing. It was a real thing.
Yeah. So did it feel a lot, maybe, Luke, for this one? Did it feel like this was a chance for the Phoenix to rise from the ashes, to have this event back at the course that it was at?
Absolutely. It was an opportunity that we weren't going to pass over, and I think we did it in a fashion where it just it honored the people that stuck with it, and I think the Gills themselves uh, got a special treat out of it, and that's why for us in the background, that's why we got involved. Myself, Rick, and other people. That's why we got involved. We really wanted the Gills to be able to. Oh, what's
1 second, I'll go back.
We just got our cameraman here working on
There
his
we go.
camera angles. There we
there
go.
you go.
Sorry, Luke. Keep going.
So Ben and the Gill, at the end of this, Ben Smith and Carson and Kim and that whole crew over there put in so much time to bring it to what it was the last weekend, that we felt almost obligated as disc golfers to step in and help them out and have them play their own event. So that's why, like, I took a step back. I told them right from the get go, I'll TD and you guys just go out and enjoy. And it kind of gave with Kings Pine rising like that, it kind of gave us the win that we needed to, I think, look further now and look at the Maritimes as a whole, and look at where are we going next with events here in the Maritimes, and where do we keep growing the sport? So it gave us, like I said, it gave us an opportunity to bring other people in. And the caddy book is one thing. We brought a key person, Rick Robichaud, in that's doing amazing work with media. So it's making everybody's life easier. So yeah, this has just given us more wind to go ahead and do more bigger and better things here in our neck of the world.
Nice. Well, with those bigger and better things, let me shout out a few things that I just garnered from the event there. So I was looking at it to get us started. Just throw out a few facts that I had. If I get something wrong, correct me, but I'm usually pretty good with the research. But this was the 10th Canadian A tier this year. Took place over 3 days. You had $6,000 minimum added cash. It was an NADGT event. You had a player's pack with 3 discs in it, Daryl,
Yep.
a glow flashlight, and more.
Yeah.
Camping on site, as you
Awesome.
said, guitars and stuff.
Awesome caddy book.
Yeah. What else do you need for an event like this, hey?
Yeah.
And then I know that sounds awesome already, and I'm sure we just barely scratched the surface. Tell us about what other things were happening over this weekend that we missed.
Individual players cards.
Yes,
Oh.
that was a big.
So tell
like
us, what does that
odds-
mean?
Yeah.
What's an
So
individual
basically,
player? Yeah.
Every player had a chance to submit a picture of themselves or an action picture of them, and we
Oh,
turned
wow.
them into players cards. So every player
Nice.
that submitted their pictures, a lot of them, like I always vouch by the fact that if we can make people feel special for that one moment,
Yeah.
well, hey, guess what? So, but we had players that have been playing the game. Like one of them is Duncan Dixon. He's all over those cards. He's getting them rated now. And he like, so it's those little things, those little moments that happen in those players cards that we did. Not everybody got them because they didn't submit their pictures, but
Yeah.
it's a tradition that we're starting.
That's
And
awesome.
Oh.
any future events, you'll have that. So
Yeah, that
yeah,
just clicked
so
for
that
me. That is so amazing. It was such a big deal that I'm like, what's he mean? Like just a card out? No, like
No.
you're talking like an actual player's
Yeah,
card. That's
exactly.
awesome. Like a
Yeah.
trading card.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I don't
Uh,
think I've ever heard of that being done for an event. Were you guys one of the first ones, or had you seen this somewhere else?
we'll have to ask Rick. I don't know, Ben. Have you seen this elsewhere? I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, Luke did it. Luke and Rick did it a few months ago at one of the other events, and it was so well received
Yeah.
that we decided to kind of pick it up. And again, this is something near and dear to Rick's heart. What I've found this year is that many people who have come into the fold feel like they wish to contribute something, and this was one of the things that Rick thought, like, I'm good at this. I'd like to do it. I'd like to give this as a gift to our participants. So in the years past of nationals, we've run flex starts and all sorts of things in the week leading up. But this, we just try to concentrate on giving people practice days on the course, 1 round on the course each. And Flickline, one of the things that our company has done and what we think we've done really well is we do a player pack worth more than the value of entrance, but we also build these little side games. So every card has a CTP on Friday and Saturday, and
Okay.
we got cookies from the hand pie company. We warmed them up in the oven, so when you came off, if you want CTP, you got a warm cookie.
Wow.
And then we do win your card. So on the second and third day, all you have to do is win your card, and you either get a gift certificate or a hand pie or some kind of like real localized thing. So we try our best to partner with the local businesses for each event and each locale and give those product directly to the players. And then that way, even if you're having a poor round, it's
Yeah.
only one shot and you cash, or like win your card and you feel like you've come out with something. And then there's custom made trophies on top of that. And just kind of in general, we want to give the ability of players to feel like they're in a competition all week, a high level competition, and to constantly be in the mix for something. So, that feedback after 120 or so events has been well received. And so we feel like we're doing a lot of things to keep our players engaged.
Yeah, that would be awesome. How many times have we been on a tournament and we're already halfway down, we get into day 2 or 3 and we're like, we're not going to win.
Right.
Well, how awesome would that be that, on that second or third day that you're not playing for the win. You're playing to win your card.
Yeah.
You're playing for that warm pie. That's awesome.
So I'm just playing to beat this guy at that point, right? So
Quite frankly, if you suck for 2 days, you're probably going to be with 3 other guys that kind of suck the same. So now you just got to
Exactly.
In all seriousness, it does breed a lot of good, healthy competition, and it does keep people engaged.
Yeah.
And we've run some other kind of experimental events, and one of the things that we have found is like how do you keep people kind of feeling competitive on a Sunday when they might be 20 strokes down?
Yeah.
So anything you can do to just make people feel like, oh, you know what, I just got to go out and give my best tomorrow, and I kind of got this shot of winning some stuff. So and then also don't throw away what they're winning. Like make it something that is meaningful. Localized gift cards or localized prizes. For most of the events, I give away small little bottles of maple syrup.
Oh, cool.
Sweet shot, sweet little prize, and and kind of custom things that we've got over the years. So you're just always trying to partner with great people and then give that great product to our players.
Well, those little shots of maple syrup, what they'd work really good with is that Daryl recently worked with a little AI system there and came up with a chain out cocktail, and it just so happens to have maple syrup in it. So, he's got that posted up. People can use it just for that.
Go check out the Instagram post. Yeah. Chad Stantz was on last week. He said he really enjoyed it. So I'm not the only one that likes it.
Chance really did for sure.
Yeah.
Your time study.
Yeah, there you go. Now, you got a chance also to have Matt and Andre come back out, and we loved those guys. So did they, from what you can tell, did they get a lot of good footage this weekend?
We got a glimpse today. I think I've been with some of the pics that Andre took. I can't wait to see the coverage. The pics themselves were amazing from what we got, and those guys did a fantastic job. They were. I've seen film crews in the past, but these guys were to the next level. To the next level.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah. We enjoyed watching their coverage from last year. So if that's anything to go by, we know they're going to knock it out of the park with their coverage again this year.
Yeah. We had Matt and Andre on the show, and we talked about his level that he set with his intros. And he's going to just have to keep ramping it up. But when you think about it, those two boys have been in Vancouver, Whitehorse, and now Prince Edward Island all in the same year. They've literally been across the country to film disc golf. Like there's not... Who's more committed than those two? I don't know, but
yeah, I was really fortunate because I talked to them a few years ago and was I tried my best to be very encouraging. As kind of people who have followed some of what we've done may know. We've had Central Coast up a few times. We've had some other film companies, but those of us who've tried to tour and do things in Canada, it's like logistically a nightmare, right? I mean, we're far, wide, and we're thin. There's one road to take it.
Yes.
And the fact that they had done so many wonderful things for the coverage of events that they have followed, and they told Canadian stories, it's just unbelievably important because I know how the Maritimes felt, 10 years ago, like, oh, does anyone even know we exist? And I know that Ryan up in the Yukon has felt the same way. I know many people across the prairies. And so for these guys to tell Canadian stories, capture Canadian content, and not only that, but to do it at such high quality, I mean, I tear up every time I watch the Falcons flight coverage.
Yes.
Tribute to Rudy, and they've done justice to the things that they've covered. So it's not just the fact that they were there in body, like they've captured that spirit. And we're really hoping the fall colors pop as much on camera as they did in person because we really just had 3 excellent days of weather.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And, everything we could have hoped for.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And it looks like you had about 116 players come out to the event to participate. Was that kind of what you were expecting, or were you hoping for more? Or is that kind of the right size for the tournament?
For this tournament, that was the right size. Again, a lot of stuff that we are doing is intentional. So we had a cap that we could have run at about 160, if I remember correct, Luke, but it was going to press every bit of our limits, and you would have to cross your fingers that nothing would go wrong, no delays, no nothing.
Right.
So this was really in the pocket of what we wanted. After talking with the Pro Tour last year and after kind of willingly giving up kind of hosting nationals a few years ago, we did decide that we wanted to go quality over quantity. So in the past, we've run these events with 5, 6 simultaneous courses running. You can imagine all the tedium that you need, volunteers, yada, yada, yada. And we made the concerted effort, like, let's be together in one spot. And that 115, 110 is a really magical pocket where when we start at 8:30, both Luke and I had coffee before it, went off. Like, it's not, it's funny. Maybe somebody who's just starting would say like 110. That seems laborious, but it really wasn't. Yeah, it was smooth sailing. We had minor little hiccups. One of us could text another who could, deal with those problems before anything ever even came to the fore. So, like, honestly, I can't even think of a problem that we had because they were all headed off so well and so quickly.
Right.
A couple things about tweaking layouts and lengthening the ropes that you use and all those things, but that's like, no matter where I say that no one can ever possibly go OB here, someone will go OB.
Someone will find it.
I think you've got 2 of those guys right here who will find it if we ever get out there. So, no, that's awesome. So, guys, we'd like to know from each of you. So maybe let's start with Luke on this one. Is what are some of your favorite moments or story or something that happened over the weekend that stuck with you?
Favorite moment? It's hard to put everything as favorite. There's the campfire nights were amazing. That we can't bypass that. And we also had a backup plan that the Gills had set up a kind of a players lounge that we could go inside with a wood stove instead of a huge garage. I think that's big. But my favorite moment, hey,
And it doesn't have to
It's
be
hard
your
to narrow it down to
favorite
just
one.
one.
It could be one of your favorite ones.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones was basically just sitting around that fire at night and just
Yeah.
captivating everything that went on through the day and going through, and then the guitars going and people just meshing together. Like, we had players that were 16, 17, 18 at that fire, and we had the older guys in their 50s and 60s, and everybody was bonding together. It was just that perfect weekend. We always say, like, after every event that we do, like, how can we make it better? Well, I don't know. This one here is going to be tough to beat, Ben.
Yeah,
Nice.
Luke is correct.
And how about for you, Ben?
I can give you 3 moments, I'll say. So Luke is being modest about the fire. There was definitely one point at that fire. Apparently, if you want to have a campfire that burns brighter, you take a leaf blower. And you blow right on that.
Colin McDonald.
Give it some oxygen?
That happened, and no one was prepared for it, but it did, and it was hilarious, as you can imagine.
Yes.
So that'll stick out of my mind for nothing other than the shock value.
Ben still has a beard.
Yes. Just barely?
Well, mostly intact. The fact that on Saturday the weather was so unbelievably calm that, I mean, I've been to Kings Pine dozens and dozens of times. I've never heard that absence of sound like we had. And you could hear people from multiple holes all over the course. And you just kind of, like, as a course builder and a designer, you do all these things blind, right? You build these holes, you hope that things are going to work out. I'm very mathematical. I've written formulas on all these things, which I'm projecting and I'm trying to have. But then there was just this moment, kind of walking up the hill on 7 where I could hear people on like 6 different holes. And you think, like, this is it. Like, this is happening, and here it is, and here's the sound. And it was so visceral. And then selfishly, I guess there's 2 little tiny parts to this. Luke has a son who is 18, Dylan Goudey and Ezra, who are both 17, and then the Gills have a son who is 16. And the 4 of those teenage boys kind of just hanging out after the round, watching more disc golf, and you're just like, okay, like, this is a real thing. When I was 17, disc golf existed, but I didn't know it existed. And then here you got these 4 boys that are like, they're setting their life up to make disc golf a part of it for a long time. But the most selfish thing is understanding that Dylan Goudey put together a weekend that was like proving to himself and proving to other Maritimers, Atlantic Canadians, that like, hey, we can do this. Luke's son was right there. Anthony was, a handful of strokes off. Ezra, James, all these people like made a run. But like I've seen a lot of disc golf in my life, and what Dylan did this week was kind of like the testament of like, hey, this kid is like going for it. And then we created a space that was quality and like as good as any tournament you're going to find in North America. And Luke calls everybody in, and it feels so official, and it feels so real. And I think Maritimers, probably a lot of Canadians, have imposter syndrome, where we kind of think like, oh, it must be better somewhere else just because it can't be. But like, it wasn't. Like, it couldn't have been better anywhere else because, as Luke said, there wasn't really any way to improve that. And to see those kids, those youth go out there and compete like that, and then to see somebody like really put together 3 incredible rounds. And it's like, if nothing else happens beyond that, we had that moment, and we had that day, and we had that weekend. And so, like, what more from an organizational standpoint could you possibly want rather than to see people do that?
Yeah, you want to see people perform at their best and raise their game to the next level. And we'll tell you, from doing this podcast and covering the Canadian A tiers, we've really gotten familiar with Western Canada, and then we started to learn a little bit more about Ontario. But this was our first experience with a lot of the maritime disc golfers and learning who they are and going, man, there's a lot of great disc golfers out on the East Coast, and we're excited to have Dylan on the show tonight. And then even too, some of the players that I know they're in the States, but they're close to Canada. They're almost like adopted Canadians there. So to get Rose on the show tonight too and talk to her will be fantastic as well.
We told him, once you come up once, and drink the maple syrup, you're an honorary Canadian. So, and Rose was so lovely, and she's got a place in both of our hearts, I know.
Absolutely.
And to have her come back. And, we felt that way about all the people who've made the trek up. The Maritimes is an intentional destination. You don't just hop off the freeway and, turn right. Like, it's, I mean, I remember having a corporate meeting in the heart of the United States years ago when I was proposing one of these national events. And someone said, wait, you can drive north of Maine? And they weren't joking. I was like, yeah, you can drive a lot of hours north of Maine. But, and north and east, so,
yes.
So yeah.
No, that's fantastic.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we know, from ourselves that we volunteered at a few events. We know these events can't go down without all the volunteers that take the tireless time to come out and volunteer and things like that and help out. You probably got more people than, we've got time for you to shout out. Is there anybody that you want to thank in particular?
Yeah, whether it be volunteers or sponsors or a few. And what we'll preface it this way. If you didn't get named tonight, that doesn't mean you weren't appreciated. You're totally appreciated. But there might have been a few people that if you wanted to shout out, we wanted to give you some time to do that.
Luke, you want to start?
Yeah. I'm going to say one group, we call them the PEI Golden Boys. And so I don't need to name the 7 to 10 people that are on there. Amazing people. Fudge, Cyril, Alan, Mitch, all those guys. The Gills, we owe this to them.
Right.
They never lost faith. They got this going. Rick and his wife, Selena, again, amazing. Duncan, Scott Guthrie, those guys were amazing. The beauty of this event, guys, was that people finished their rounds. There was MA2s, MA40s, MA50s. They all came to the TDs. Where do you guys need help? Where can we help speed it up? What do you guys need set up for tonight? So I think there was 117 bodies over there this weekend, and I think every single one of them needs to be commented, and the guilds and their employees,
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and not only that, but I've often made the joke that, all the players are a huge contributor, right? Like, Luke and I put on an event, no one shows up, we look stupid. So all the people who came and who make that trip up there, the streeters that made the trip up from the States. We have always had people from Quebec and Ontario come across, and it's so grateful. There are a handful of companies, especially the Hand Pie Company, who's kind of been with us from the start on
Absolutely.
PEI, who's been a big supporter and trying to kind of work some magic with us any way they can. And then, of course, PDGA Canada. Brian took a huge leap of faith with us early on, and hopefully we've paid him returns, dividends. But he has done a lot to kind of just help in lots of different ways. Luckily, we didn't have a hurricane or anything to deal with this year. And then PEI, the provincial body, the organization there, helped route some funding into the course.
Absolutely.
And, is trying to kind of keep things on the professional so that we can have the structure to deal with governments and receive funding. And for a lot of us who have done these events prior to 2010, you realize that the pathway through the government is going to make a huge difference. Municipal, provincial funding, sport organizations, and all of those things come from people who aren't necessarily disc golfers but wish to see the structure go forward. And those are kind of a lot of unsung heroes. Again, I won't list any kind of individual names, but whether it is, Luke and I's wives who also have to hold down a fort. Unfortunately for me, I got reasonably sick on Saturday night. I've tested every day and been negative for COVID. My wife did a conference during that weekend, and she did get COVID. So we came home sick together, which was kind of hilarious. But I always like to say, for every volunteer there's probably somebody at home, holding down that for it. We don't often get named. We all have kids. We all have things that are kind of going on in our other lives. And but to Luke's point, many hands make light work. It takes a village to raise a child, whatever saying you want to throw out there. But these are progressively easier in some ways because people have identified, wait a minute, it's not just what time do I tee off? There is a gamut of things that are happening. And all of the good events, I'm sure you have found this, talking to people across the country, all have a wide variety of things being offered, and there is no one person responsible for that. That is an entire team of people who are contributing in ways that they have strength to do. And if you've gone to a really, really good event and you see something that can be improved, hey, do I have a job for you? But it's a testament to how far we've come. And if I think back to my years in events, oh man, now to 20 years ago, it is not even the same world.
Not even close. Yeah, well, that's great, guys. And, looking again, if I just reference back to that caddy book, maybe we'll get a chance to put a clip of it and put it up there for a bit. But I think you've got 2 pages worth of sponsors. So it's just great to see that all of PEI is supporting in one way or another, and a lot of great companies are out there. So that's fantastic. Now we are going to get Rose on right away. So really quickly, before we let you go, is there anything else that we might have missed that you want to quickly shout out there?
Just want to quickly throw that up on the screen there for Luke and Ben.
Yeah. Great job, Luke and Ben, on both a spectacular event and for representing Atlantic Canada. And that was from James there, James Mallard. So
James, good guy.
Thank you, James.
From 5 Point, also even just for this, thank you for the airtime, thank you for the space to shout to all the people who have done the thing, and thank you for Canadians to kind of, not just Canadians, thank you for all the people who have come and taken a part in our events, and I feel we're honestly stronger together, because all the people contribute. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, same thing here, guys. We're just hoping that eyes are turning east now, and the next year's another big year for us. So stay tuned. Lots of little things coming up.
Well, you got 4 eyes here turning east. That's the one thing about this podcast is if we could play at all the people's events that we talk to, we would. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. When I win the lottery, that's what I'll be doing.
Thanks again.
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
All the best, guys.
And we're all gonna. We're just gonna now watch Rose entertain us all.
Yes, exactly.
We're gonna talk to Rose, and then we got Dylan coming up after.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Talk to you later, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So
I
Daryl,
need to get my buttons fixed.
yeah, you got to work on those buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to put big like labels on them or something like that.
Exactly.
So, well, the thing is, and I honestly mean it, and I know anybody who listens to us regularly, they hear me say it all the time, is like we talk to the tournament directors of one of these events, and then the first thing I want to do is add it to my list of events I want to play next year.
Yeah, I know. It sucks, but Canada's so wide, so big. We
Yes.
just can't go everywhere. We can't be everywhere. And, all these tournaments, like you said, we want to play. And it's not, we want to play the tournament. We'd like to play in a tournament. We always want to play disc golf. So no matter what tournament we can play in. But a lot of what we say and a lot of the people that we interview, we just want to go there because we want to meet them.
Yes.
We just want to continue the story. I think the 20, 30 minutes that we get to talk to these people just isn't long enough, right?
No.
Everybody that we've had, they've had so many great stories to tell. And I know we're just scratching the surface of their disc golf knowledge and history and all the stories that they could tell us. So, yeah, I mean, then when you talk about sitting down around a campfire and playing a guitar and...
Well, as soon as they started talking about that, it really did start to give me visions and feelings of maybe a Falcons Flight of the East.
Exactly,
Is
yeah.
kind of what it was. Because that was what Falcons feels like, right? You're on a secluded area. Everybody, for the most part, there's some people who are staying off site, but even if they are, they're spending a lot of time on site to enjoy the event. And looking at what they were doing there at Kings Pine, it was a similar thing. And I'm sure, they talked about a leaf blower made it into to make the fire a little bigger. I'm sure there was a lot of other exciting events that maybe you just had to be there to be part of as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we didn't even get to the part two, as I didn't mention it, but they did have an ace pot there where they had $400 in it just to start the ace pot, I believe. And that was before anybody else joined it. So, that's pretty amazing that way too. But,
yeah. Well, we're still waiting on Rose. Rose is not here yet. So
this is where we tap dance and we fill our time. But we are going to have Rose.
Well, you know what?
What's that?
I know this is not really anything to do with the A tier or anything that we're talking about. But we just got to, shout out to a new listener.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, he has a question, Jeremy. So we should ask, we have a question. We're going to
We'll answer
throw it
a
up
question.
on the chat here. So Juan, hey, I just saw this on my recommended homepage. What advice would you give to someone who wants to start but is clueless on how to get started? What do I and don't I need? Are there tee times similar to golf?
Oh, well, those are all fantastic questions.
Yeah.
And luckily, they're ones that us two guys can probably answer for
Yeah, Sam has been answering him in the chat there.
you. Okay.
Oh, you need to send Rose another link. She didn't get the link. That's why she hasn't joined.
Okay.
You want to do that right now?
Well,
on
I'll
your
do
phone?
that while
Or
you
can
go ahead
email,
and
and
talk.
I'll answer Juan. Juan, welcome to the sport. It's an amazing sport. It's so much better than golf. You don't need tee times. Most courses are public. There are a few pay-to-play courses, but you definitely don't need to check any of those out. Check your local area. There is a app that you can download called UDisc. If you download UDisc, there'll be a little map at the bottom that says courses. You'll see all the courses in your local area. Search the internet for whatever local area you're in. I'm sure there's probably a disc golf club or a disc golf association in your area. They'll definitely point you in the right direction. As for what equipment do you need, you know what? Most local sports stores or even some secondhand sports stores, Amazon can be your friend as well. Look for disc golf stores in your area. Most manufacturers have their own starter packs. So you'll get a putter, a mid-range, and a kind of a fairway driver. That's all you really need to get started. Just pick up 3 discs. You can check out a lot of disc golf on YouTube for the basics of how to throw. Yeah, that's all you really need.
Well, and there's so many great stores that you can go to. So depending on whether you're in Western Canada or Eastern Canada, so just talking to Eastern Canada, obviously there's Flickline you can go to. Western Canada, we've got a number of great places with Limber Disc Golf, BR Disc Golf, Wildman. So if you do a little bit of searching, also too, great companies like Discmania in Winnipeg who can get discs over to you relatively cheap for shipping across Canada. Mm-hmm. And one of the things too is reach out. I don't know, as I was typing there if you mentioned it, but you should have a club in your local area, right?
Yeah, I mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question and kind of points you in a good direction, Juan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have Rose here right away. I just sent her a link here in our Instagram. We'll go that route.
Yeah. Did you
This
tell?
is a little behind the scenes for all our listeners. When we're
Yeah.
going live, do you remember before this would have like torn us
There she
apart,
is.
wouldn't it have? Like we wouldn't have been able to figure it out. But now this is just regular course of business.
There you go.
All right, so let's go with an intro here.
Okay, go for it.
Our next guest is currently from Nashua, New Hampshire. She's been a PDGA member since 2016. Playing in 74 events, she has won 25 of them. That's a 1 in 3 win rate. Amazing. Her most recent win was this past weekend as the FPO winner at the Discmania Open. Let's welcome Rose Shertick to the show.
Hi, Rose. I don't think we can see you.
We'll
Let's
get
go
you in
back
here,
to-
though.
Let's go back to the 2-up. Not sure. You think you might need to enable your camera, Rose. And you've muted yourself as well.
But don't worry, Daryl's on the case.
Yeah. I'm gonna kick you out, Rose. If you want to join again, you might have to allow permissions depending on which browser you're using. Bring it back to us again here.
Yeah. And one of the things here when we get Rose on, and we'll probably mention it in the conversation, is Rose is doing us a great solid here because out here, we're only sitting at 8 o'clock p.m. is where we are right now.
Yeah.
And she's out there, she's at 10 o'clock p.m. and she works quite early in the morning, but she's made some time. She wanted to not let down any of our listeners and be sure to tell us all about her win at the big tournament there.
Yeah.
So, and we know we've got some of the other players that we saw, Karen Martel, which was one of the other FPO players there. And I don't know if and we also had some of the MPO players. James was in the chat, as well as, who else did you see there?
We had that was at the event.
Yeah, did you see some or no?
Let me just scroll back. I know I've seen Luke, but we had Luke. We have Brock. We have the Streeters.
Oh, the Streeters.
The
Yeah, the
Streeters were in
Streeters,
there.
yeah.
So Karen obviously was there.
Nice.
Luke. Drongo. Not sure who
Yeah.
Drongo was, but
Well, thank you to everybody
Somebody
for
else.
joining us, all these new listeners as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
it's
did.
fantastic.
We did someone called LaFudge. I'm not sure who
Ooh.
that might be, but he said, "Great interview, fellas, on the leaf blower." Some of us were a little more shocked than others, so he must have been there.
Some other people had known as well.
Yeah, maybe it was depending on which way it was angled.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing is when we were talking to Ben there, he had quite a beard like yours.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he had a little bit of it singed off or not, or
Wonder
what
if
happened.
it was a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
All right, now it looks like we're going to bring Rose on.
Alrighty. And by the magic of the internet, we have Rose. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey,
Thanks,
how are
guys.
you doing?
Thanks for joining us. How are things going? A little bit of a work kink there, but this Daryl guy, he gets it all figured out every time.
Hey, I'm glad we could figure it out and make it happen.
We got
Yeah.
there.
We're excited to have you on the show. We just talked with Luke and Ben, the tournament directors. They said they were guaranteed sticking around because they said you were sure to entertain just like you did all weekend long. So,
Oh, yeah. I had them both in fits of laughter for most of the weekend.
yeah. You weren't the one who was holding the leaf blower at the campfire, were you?
No one invited me to that, so I wasn't there for it.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, first off, congratulations on the big FPO win at the Discmania Open. And then secondly, congrats on getting back over 900 rated this week with a 6-point bump up to 905. Seems like a pretty good week, would you say, this so far?
Oh, definitely. That was a treat, just getting to see my rating jump back up again. It's been a lot of hard work this year.
Yeah. And getting to be above 900, that seems like for Daryl and I, it was just getting above 850 as amateurs. But that 900 mark seems like a really nice coveted one. And it almost feels like, and maybe you can tell us, does PDGA kind of almost play with you a bit and it'll be like, oh yeah, I played really well, 899 rated. Oh, I played really well, 898 rated. And they just don't want to put you over 9? Yeah.
So that happened for like 4 years. And then last year I got up to I think it was like 890, and then I dropped. And then I started the season off with, I think it was like an 876 rating.
Okay.
And after my first tournament, it bumped me like 30 points. And it just, from there, it's just been up. And then, yeah, July had some hiccups and we dropped down, but made it back.
Yeah. Good work.
Yeah.
Well, Rose, we've been doing Canadian A-tier fantasy pick shows on the podcast all year. And when we picked you, we brought up Nashua, New Hampshire. And then I know a lot of people give Americans a hard time for not knowing where spots in Canada are, but I was the one on the end of it that time. So I was the one who was like, where is New Hampshire anyways, Daryl? And yeah, I was on the East Coast, so I had no idea where it was. So I've done my research now, and I've looked at it, and I'm looking like you were 11 hours away by car from PEI. Did you drive? What happened? How did you get there?
We drove. The Streeters actually picked me up Tuesday night. We left here at 6:02 p.m. and we got to our Airbnb at 6:45 a.m.
Oh
My gosh. And then just slept for hours, or did you go right to the course and practice?
So we all got in the house, and I think it was like finally like 7:30 I laid down. I fell asleep for like an hour and a half. And then we went and played a practice round.
Oh my.
Wow.
It was, and I had gotten up at 4:00 the day before for work, so it's like, oh, here we go. I'm going to be awake for about 26 plus hours.
Wow.
At least you get to take it easy, right? It's not like you get to throw discs and walk up and down an arduous course and everything like that as well on top of it.
No, it was a cakewalk compared to most of New England golf.
Okay. That's good to hear. So have you been up to Canada to play before? I was kind of trying to look through, but I'd have to go into every tournament on PDGA, so I didn't get that far, but...
So this was actually my first international trip.
Oh.
It was my first time using my passport to leave the country.
Wow.
And Canada didn't disappoint.
Nice.
Awesome.
And did they let you cross the border okay? They didn't ask you too many questions or anything for that first crossing?
You know, Andrew tried to get me to stay in Canada because I wouldn't sign on the dotted line is all he kept saying to me.
But you made it in anyways, hey?
So, I
did. I did. And I'm definitely going to come back.
You had your shot of maple syrup, so you're an honorary Canadian. That's what we were told. You didn't have your shot? I thought Luke said you had your shot.
I don't like maple syrup.
Oh, there you go. I don't know. Maybe did you have a PEI red potato then? Or a hand pie?
I picked up roadside potatoes.
Yep.
Cool. That's awesome.
Karen and I were driving back to the course and we saw potatoes on the side of the road and just picked them all up.
They're just sitting there on the side of the road, just waiting, hey?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Awesome. Well, we wanted to talk a little bit about the rounds, and I've kind of got a summary of what I've gotten. Maybe you can fill in any blanks that I missed here. But it looks like, you had just a really strong weekend, and you led this one right from the start to the finish. You started with a -6 in round one for a 6-stroke lead to begin the tournament. And then you go -3 in round two. Karen Martell was able to gain a stroke back that round, but you still had a 5-stroke lead. And then you go into the final round and you shoot a -4, finishing the event with a -13 overall and winning by 9 strokes. Daryl, would you want that tournament?
Absolutely. Even one of those rounds, I would take one of those rounds, Jeremy.
Yeah. So 3 rounds under par and only 4 bogeys the whole weekend. That is pretty awesome. How are you feeling after all of that?
I'm stoked about it. I have never finished in double digits under par at a tournament, let alone shot under par every single round I've played.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. I was going to ask you, how did the event go from your perspective? But I'm guessing every day was just a joy. If you're shooting under par every day, it couldn't have gone any better.
No, it couldn't have. I had so much fun. I want to actually thank Karen for pushing this one. She talked to me in Maine back in July and convinced me to get my passport renewed to come up for this.
Okay.
And then the streeters solidified it by coming up to me and going, "You're coming with us."
Fantastic. So you said you did, Canada didn't disappoint. What did you think about the course itself?
I really liked it. I had a ton of fun with it. I mean, the lines are unique. The fact that the course was almost destroyed by a hurricane a few years ago and seeing how much it's come back is just amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair yet challenging course. Playing from some of the red tees, it's kind of like this is an easier hole, but looking at it from where MPO played, to me, I think it was definitely fair to the FPO players.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. There were some pretty far holes on the MPO side then, looking back at them.
Some of them looked like they were harder tee shots. Some of the lines looked a little tougher.
Right.
I did walk with Sam's card for Saturday and Sunday and definitely saw the lines better having walked it and not played it. And I do see that they are, to me, they seemed a little bit tougher.
Nice.
So, saying that you enjoyed the course, and obviously your score reflected it, it must have just played into your game. How would you say your game was suited to the course?
I think my game suited pretty well to it. There's a lot of good distance shots. There's a lot of touch shots. It all plays well to my strengths because I do a lot of hyzer flipping when I throw.
Okay.
Right.
And I also found that throwing mid-ranges or putters off the tee was a lot easier,
Okay.
which
Interesting.
gave me, in my opinion, a little bit of an advantage knowing how to do all of it.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, after playing that course for 3 days, were there any holes that you would have, like, you really liked or stuck out as some of your favorites?
Well, I'm going to start with hole 1. The first day was not my best. And every day afterwards, I came back and I made sure that I was birdieing or getting close to just taking an easy par.
Right.
So that was one of the ones that maybe the first day you weren't such a fan, but after that it was right into your wheelhouse, or?
Well, it was funny. So day 1, I went to throw my tee shot like I had in all my practice rounds, and a wind came gushing across as I released, and the disc I threw was normally stable, and it came out on hyzer like it should have, and it popped up, went right, and went directly past the Mando onto hole 2.
Oh, no.
So hole 1 definitely got me, and I was like, you know what, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen the rest of the tournament.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say that
one.
hole 1 was, well, not necessarily a nemesis hole, but kind of a hole that you wanted to do better on. I mean, obviously that hole was just a freak gust of wind that took your drive off out of range. How do you address that coming back to day 2? You think, okay, do you ignore the wind? Do you ignore hole 1 on day round 1? Is that in the back of your mind, or do you just think, okay, I know I got this. It was just a gust of wind the first day.
It was the latter. I was like, it's a gust of wind. I chose a different disc, and I got myself down the fairway without even thinking about the Mando and what happened the day before.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, you can just put it out of your mind. That's good.
Well, and it's kind of funny, too, that you mentioned that, Rose, about hole 1 is we've talked to Chantal Badinsky when she played the Foxwood Open, and we talked to some players, I think it was at the BC Open as well. I don't know what it is with these tournament directors, but what they like to do is they like to make a nice, hard hole and make it your first hole. I don't know why they don't give like an ace run, little par 3 birdie type hole. They always seem to give you like a par 5 and make it a difficult one. Like, what's up with that, I wonder?
I don't know. Maybe they want to make it seem like the course is harder than it actually is. Maybe they want to give you a challenge to start off and then give you easier holes towards the rest of it, towards halfway, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to say it now. Tournament directors, let's change it up. Next year, let's change those holes. Whatever you got to do, maybe just change the numbers on the holes. But I want a nice ace run on hole 1 to make me feel good about myself when I maybe park it or get in bullseye and get that birdie. And then you can hit me with whatever you want. Like you can hit me with one that I could take a 17 on, or somebody could, but you could do that afterwards. But don't do that on hole 1, right, Daryl?
Exactly. Never on hole 1.
Yeah. There you go. Well, Rose, did you have any good memories and things that you could tell us about that first trip to Canada, that first tournament in Canada? What are you going to hold with you from this event this weekend?
Oh, goodness. That's a tough one. I mean,
Apart from the
getting
potatoes.
to... All right. Falling out of a kayak in the ocean.
What? Tell us about that. How'd that happen?
Yep. So after day 1 of the tournament, I went and hung out with Karen and Julie for a little bit afterwards, and where they were staying was with Luke, and they had kayaks because they were on a bay and went out to the Atlantic. So we were all going out to go kayaking, and I was just a little bit behind them. I'm in less than a foot of water. And I'm like getting into the kayak, and the next thing I know, I'm falling out of the kayak into the water.
Oh,
and
no.
Karen and Julie are just turned around and go, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I don't know. I was holding the paddle. I had myself planted. I was good to go. And next thing I know, I'm in the water."
Oh, no. So did you hop back in and then manage to still get a kayak in?
Oh, yeah, definitely did. We got all the way out. There was a sandbar out in the middle. And as we got out there where the currents were merging, where the tide was coming out of the bay and the Atlantic was just kind of going back over and swooping around, there was actually a seal that started swimming around us.
Oh.
Wow.
And was the seal trying to knock you over or just looking to say hi? What do you figure?
I don't know. I think he was just there to say hi, but Karen was just kind of like, "I'm going to paddle a little ways because I don't know what's going to happen. They can be aggressive. I don't want to deal with this."
There you go. Well, we do like to, speaking of Karen and your weekend there, we do like to reach out to the card mates of the players that we have on the show and ask them. And Karen did get back to us, and she shared some thoughts about playing with you over the weekend. And she mentioned some of the fun moments, and you might have to fill us in. But one of the things we're supposed to ask you about is Rose and Ren. Do you got anything to tell us about that?
So back in September, we played Maine States. Our final round was at Pineland Farms. And the card I was on, everybody's name except for mine started with a K.
Okay.
One of my friends who was walking with us decided, "Well, you're now Crows." And we've kind of determined that's like my alter ego who doesn't know how to play disc golf, and she likes to show up and shoot well over par.
Oh.
That's awesome.
So have you told her she wasn't allowed to come to the tournaments anymore, or what do you do? How do you keep Crows away?
Karen texted me a few days prior to leaving, and she's like, "You better leave Crows at the border. She's not allowed to come with you."
They wouldn't let her
So I
across
did
anyways.
that.
Yeah. It's
Not
always,
at all.
always good to have somebody
She's not
that-
fun.
when you don't play so well. It's always good to say, "Well, that was just Crows.
Yes.
That wasn't
there
me.
you go.
That was Crows playing."
Fair enough.
Pretty much.
Well, and then you did mention potatoes.
And-
So I saw some Instagram. Oh, sorry. Did you have more to say about Crows and Ren before we move on to that?
No, we just over the weekend on our last round of the tournament, we couldn't decide what to call Karen as her alter ego, so I decided for her. I was like, "You're just going to be Ren. I'm naming it now. You're going to be a bird."
Oh, that's all right. So now we know. So do we watch for like PDGA rating updates on Crows and Ren? Do they did they show up too or no?
I'll have to talk to Karen and get back to you on that one.
Sounds good. Yeah, it would be great to have like a mock profile for them or something like that. Hey.
Yeah, we've had Alexandra that just shows up as Alexandra.
Yes.
Now we're just going to have just showing up as crows.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go, for sure. Well, moving on, though, we did see some of those Instagram posts about some adventures with a new friend, Pat the Potato. So how is Pat
Pat the
different than any
Potat.
of the other potatoes?
So once we found the potatoes, that was like our thing. Karen wanted to have a potato with her for the weekend, so she drew a face on him and named him. So then we had Pat Le Patat joining us for our rounds, and Karen got some funny videos of Pat just being like shocked by our drives or putts or whatever. And the final day after our round, we ended up putting him into the fire, and we said goodbye.
Oh no,
What a way to say goodbye.
poor Pat. No, he was shocked that whole time
Yeah.
because he knew what was coming. Oh, that's fantastic.
Pretty much.
So was patate your first French word as well? Is that your introduction to the French language?
No, it's not. I went to college in Vermont, and it was a French classic culinary school.
Okay.
So one of our classes was French cuisine, so we learned a lot of French terminology from our chefs and all that.
Right.
Oh, there you go.
I also did take an intro to French class in middle school, but that was a long time ago.
There you go. Yeah,
Wow.
so patate would have been definitely in French culinary school.
Exactly, yeah.
You'd learn that one for sure. Definitely.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like Jeremy said there, we did reach out to Karen, and when we heard back from her, she said that seriously, she loved that you kept the card light and funny. She said that your tee shots were awesome, your putts were awesome, and you really played smart versus attacking and running everything. So she really appreciated playing with you.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, because I enjoyed playing with her. Every time I get to hang out with Karen and play golf, I always feel relaxed. It's always calm, it's funny. We just know how to have a good time while still being competitive with each other.
Right. Yeah, and that's good. So you guys have had a chance to play a number of times together, and that's good. And I think that was what she was kind of getting at too, is that she's seen your game and knows that you're one who wants to attack and really get those baskets and stuff, but you were able to modulate that, and maybe that's when Crows really comes out, and you're able to put her away and just focus on the round, which is fantastic. So fantastic. So what do you have set for you in the future here for the rest of the season? Do you have any more events lined up, or was this the end to it?
So I'm playing a tournament this coming weekend at Smuggler's Notch. It's the DGVT finale.
Okay.
After that, I am playing the Clement Farms Women's Open, which is an all-women's tournament that is sold out.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's one more, but I'm not sure what it is.
Nice. Well, that's good. You've got some more events for the rest of the season. And are you, as you start to plan for next year, do you foresee there being some more Canadian events sprinkled in as you can?
Most likely. Again, that's going to be a Karen, maybe Luke, maybe Ben. Someone will say something to me about coming up for another tournament, and we'll just make it happen.
Yeah. Well, we already know that Canadian Nationals is going to be Eastern Canada next year. Or
Yeah.
we say Eastern Canada, but it's going to be out in Ontario next year. That's one of our big tournaments out here, so I'm sure
That's definitely a
sure that could
possibility.
be on your radar. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just 11 hours the other direction, just west, I think,
Yeah.
if my geography's any good this time.
Cross the border and turn
That's
left.
fine.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's fine. We can make that happen.
Awesome. Well, we've talked about it because we did actually talk to the tournament director after that event, Daryl Banks, and that tournament just sounded like a fantastic event, which was the RIP at one of the courses that Nationals in Canada is going to be at next year. But it looks like they've got 4 courses lined up. They're all top-rated courses in Ontario, so definitely we're putting it on your mind, because I think even us in Western Canada are thinking about looking at plane tickets and getting our way out there. So
Something to plan for, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So with all this amazing
Definitely
play,
on the radar now.
yeah, put it on your list for sure. If not, maybe we'll just send it to you in an Instagram DM. We'll give you a link and all of that stuff.
Karen's on it.
Sounds
I'm
like a
sure
great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Karen helping us, we'll have you there for sure. So, Rose, as well, with all this wonderful playing that you've been doing, have you picked up any sponsors along the way, or anybody starting to ask questions about that?
Everybody likes to ask if I'm sponsored, and my answer is still the same. I'm not sponsored. I'm not looking for it, but if it happens, it happens.
All right. Well, I think being at the Discmania Open and performing as well as you did, hopefully you ended up on their radar there. And we know that Flickline was a big sponsor as well. So you're at least getting yourself in front of more and more people. And we know that's one of the big things about getting to that sponsored stage is just playing well and getting in front of people. So
that's all it takes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we know that you have an early morning and we don't want to take too much more of your time up, but is there anything else that you wanted to shout out or cover before we let you go?
I can't think of anything.
No?
You did so good at your research. We're that good of podcast interviewers. We covered everything.
I think you covered a good amount of it. I mean, a big shout out to Luke and Ben for putting this whole thing together, getting it to run, and then, I mean, Kim and Carson for opening up their property to everybody.
Right.
And all the locals that came out to help out with everything.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That event, again, like we do this podcast and we get so many events on our list, and if we can get to PEI as well, that's on the list. We might have to move east next year.
Probably a shout out to the streeters as well for getting you there.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known the streeters for close to a decade at this point. I mean, they're wonderful people, and I'm very happy that they were like, no, we're gonna make this happen. We're all going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we thank you for coming up, because it's awesome to just get more and more people exposed to our Canadian courses and what type of disc golf that we have available to share with the world, right? So, yeah. So
Definitely.
Awesome, Rose. Thank you so much for being on the show with us tonight. We really appreciate it. And get right to bed. Make sure you got an early morning tomorrow. Don't let these podcast guys keep you up too late. So.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks, Rose, for taking the time to join us.
Thank you guys for having me on.
You bet. Thanks. Well, Daryl, another great guest on the show. Rose seems like just a real friendly and fun person. I think I'd love to have her on my card.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was thinking exactly. I mean, you always get asked that question if you could be on a card with three other card mates.
Yes.
People say Macbeth, Heimberg, Gannon, Paige Pierce, Owen
Kristen,
Scoggins, whoever, right? I think Karen Martin, or should I say Crows and Wren?
Crows and Wren, yeah. Maybe not Karen and Rose.
No.
We want to be on with Crows and Wren.
Crows and Wren, yeah.
And then
absolutely.
if I had to pick another one, I'd probably pick Pat the Patat. So, and you, of course, too. So the four of us with Pat the Patat, I think we'd have a great card.
Yeah.
So I think they just have to find out a way. We either have to play down into an MA division, they can come join us, and we can make that happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen that way.
There you go.
So, yeah, thanks to Rose for coming on. And then next we've got an interview with the MPO winner.
We do. We're going to get to it right now. Well, we would if it worked. 1 second.
All right.
1 second, everybody.
Yes, so you'll realize that I actually had said Dylan Goudey, and we learned that it was Dylan Goudey. So my apologies in advance for not saying Dylan's last name properly. It's, maybe you should have contacted him ahead of time, kind of like we did with Fritja Fargergrin, and have him say his name for us so that I could say it properly.
Keep talking, Jeremy.
Well, I will. So, yeah, the PEI event. And then we were talking that the next event is going to be the Ontario Provincial Championships. I've got a few people in mind here to join us. So if any of them are listening, one of them that I'm looking to maybe bring on is, it looks like Chris Ozelin's a big name out in the Ontario disc golf world, isn't playing. Our next guest is from Deerfield, Nova Scotia. He's been a PDGA member since 2021. He's played 39 career events and won 22 of them. That's more than a 50% win ratio, Daryl. He took down the MPO win at the Discmania Open, and because he's 3 hours ahead of us, and it would be 11:30 p.m. his time right now, we took the time to record with him earlier. let's welcome Dylan Goudey to the show. Hey, welcome, Dylan.
Hey guys.
Hey, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on, and yeah, glad you could record with us early because that 3-hour time change, that would have had you on 11:30 at night. That's a little late, I think, hey?
A little late, yeah.
Yeah.
We expect a lot from our guests, but we don't expect you to stay up that late, so we appreciate it.
Well, one of the things, Dylan, for us is we've focused a lot on British Columbia, Alberta, kind of Western Canada, and really gotten to know the Canadian pros on this side of Canada, but we don't know the pros on the East Coast. So in the true East Coast, right, Daryl?
The true East Coast.
We made the mistake of calling Ontario Eastern Canada, and somebody corrected us very quickly that Eastern Canada is a lot further east than Ontario. So, but in researching with you there, Dylan, I came up with a little bit of information out of PDGA. You've been having quite the year, is essentially what I found out. PDGA says you've played 11 tournaments, all MPO, and you've won 7 of them. Your other 4 were 2nd, 4th, and 21st. And so everyone knows the 21st was at a Q Series event where, a couple little known players like James Proctor, Bradley Williams, Matt Bell, Paul Kranz, and other DGPT pros were also playing. So tell us, how have you felt about this year?
It's felt pretty good. I don't know. Things have just kind of been falling into place that I've been missing for a while. It just feels good to finally play some good disc golf, so I'm excited to play more.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Had you played the course before?
I played it pre-hurricane, it was my first time coming into it this week.
Well, and then I guess, too, the other part I was going to say to you, Dylan, was last year you had a few wins in there. Like there were wins in your tournaments, but most of them were a lot of podiums. Was there anything that changed from last year to this year in your game that's got you winning tournaments more?
I struggled a lot with mental game last year, and I feel like I've kind of figured it out a little better this year, and that's what's kind of made me a better player this year.
Nice.
Yeah. What specifically did you kind of like have a bit of a struggle with? Because we often, when we talk to pros, we often try and get their mindset, and it can range anything from, Jeremy always says that when he's practice putting, he can hit 9 out of 10 putts, but when he goes onto the tournament, it kind of goes downhill there. Or, if we need to make up a few shots, it's like, how do we deal with that sort of thing? Like, what sort of thing did you have to kind of work on?
I think I was trying to live up to some standards I set to myself, and
right.
I don't know. I got scared of missing, and then it just kind of went downhill from there, and wasn't very confident in my game.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's something that we can all learn from, right?
Yeah.
You have an expectation before you go into a tournament, and then you don't play the best, and you take a 17 on a hole. I'm not going to let it drop, Jeremy. But yeah, then your rest of your tournament can go out the window, right? So yeah, no, I can see how that would be something to overcome for sure.
Yeah, and you've definitely figured it out, because with just looking at those 2 years back to back, you can see that no one would have had to tell you. You could just look at those results and go, wow, something's changed with Dylan this year. So that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And we should also bring some attention, Dylan, to your 11-point jump in ratings this week to 985, a new high for you. How awesome does that feel?
It feels great, honestly. I haven't had a rating update in like 3 months, so it's nice to get that bump. But
yeah, and 985, if I'm right, it's an all-time new high for you as well?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Now, some players, they'll set a ratings goal for themselves. Do you have one for you for this year? Or?
My goal for the last 2 years has been 980, so it feels
awesome.
good to be past that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we had a 250 subscriber kind of party, and Daryl had some balloons up in that. Did you do anything to celebrate your rating bump this week?
Not really, no. I feel good, and I'm motivated to try to get it as high as I can now. So now that I know I can keep rising it feels good.
Yeah. Does it feel like your game is going in the right direction? And like, do you have another goal? Is it 990, 995? Like, where do you have another goal that you've set for yourself in the ratings world? I mean, I know you've just gotten to 985. We don't want to be
Let's bask in that for a
Yeah,
minute.
let's live in the 985 for a while. But yeah.
So that's good. Well, Dylan, the other
Probably
thing we
not
want.
this year. I mean, if I can keep pushing, but
Right.
Yeah. Well, do you still have some tournaments in mind for the rest of the year here to kind of get that rating, a few more rating attempts there?
I have 2 more tournaments, and I don't know, just try to play my best, not really worry about ratings, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, it's a good attitude for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to be. Rather, we're putting all the pressure back on him again. But yeah, play the best you can, and then whatever happens, that's a good way to be.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, Dylan, I want to talk, we both want to talk to you about your big win at the Discmania Open over the weekend. And I've got a little bit of a round summary here, and we'll throw some questions in back and forth because we know that Park Pro was out there recording the event, but that won't come out for a little while. So unless somebody was at the event or was messaging with you, that's probably the only way they'd really know what was going on with your round. So if we start with round 1, it looks like you played pretty clean. You had 1 bogey, 6 birdies. You finished up with a -5, and that seemed to be the popular score because you had a 3-way tie with Sam Streeter and Ezra Lockington for first place, and then Vaughn Murphy was sitting 1 stroke behind, back in second place. How did you feel about that first round?
I was definitely nervous. The first 2 putts were pretty awful, but I'm usually nervous going into my first round, so nothing really new. I had 2 spit outs that round, so that always happens, but it kind of sucks to have to deal with it, but definitely wasn't my best round.
Are you a score watcher? Like, do you know where you're sitting or anything like that? So you just know that you were tied for first once you got to the end of the round?
Yeah, I usually don't check scores until the last day, and if I'm playing good, I know I don't need to, so.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Just play well enough that it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was that your first time being on camera as well?
It was, yeah.
And how did it go that way? Did it take a little bit to get used to, or did that make you nervous?
Yeah, that kind of made me nervous in round 1, but round 2 and 3 I was fine.
Right. Well, we've been told multiple times, and we've had Matt and Andre on the show before, but we've been told they're so good at just kind of blending into the background, and before you know it, you hardly recognize that they're there. Did you experience that same thing? Yeah.
Yeah, like obviously I knew the cameras are on me in round 1, so I was just kind of in my head, but after that, round 2 and 3, didn't even notice they were there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good. All right, so then we get to round 2, and you went off. 12 birdies, no bogeys. You shoot a 12 down. Ezra says, that's fine, I'll stay right with you. And he shoots a -11 and is 1 stroke back of you after the second round. What happened that round that made it go so well compared to the day before?
I was less nervous, and I could kind of get in the zone that day. Just felt good. I made almost all my putts. It just thrown well, but there's always things I can improve on, but that was definitely a good round.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like a round like that, Daryl.
Yeah, I would as well. Were the weather conditions any different on the second day?
Not really. It was probably a little less windy, but again, there wasn't a lot of wind in round 1, so.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
And in that second round, were you and Ezra kind of pushing each other? Did you see him do a good throw and then you were like, I got to match that? Or did you feel him trying to push up against you that way?
I actually didn't even realize he was having such a good round. He started kind of slow, and then when I looked at the scores at the end, he birdied the last 12 out of 13 holes or something, which is kind of crazy. But
yeah,
it was +1 through 5, and then shot 11 under, so pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So then if we finish off with round 3, you start strong again. You card 10 birdies, 1 bogey. You end up with a -9. And when we looked at it, unfortunately, Ezra didn't chase you that one. He looks like he had a tough first 5 holes, but after that, he kind of dialed in his game and he started to battle back, but it was a little bit too little too late at that point. So you finish the tournament with a -26 overall, and you're 7 strokes ahead of James Mallard, who jumped up to take second place. So, Daryl, like, I'm writing this thing. I couldn't believe it the
Yeah.
way Dylan took down this tournament.
Yeah, I know. Have you like? So how what were your feelings going into that third round? Like we've spoken to Rebecca Dawn, who just recently won the end of her rip, and she said going into the final round, everybody was saying to her, "Oh, you've got 7-stroke lead. You've got it. This is yours. It's in the bag." And that just added more pressure. That she was thinking, "Oh my goodness, if I lose now, I've thrown away this lead." How did you feel going into that final round with the lead? Did you just not feel the pressure?
There wasn't a whole lot of pressure. I knew I needed to start hot because if I didn't, Ezra was right there, 1 stroke behind me. So I was definitely nervous of him, but
Yeah.
started pretty good. So
Yeah.
Good.
Again, just play your own game, and it is what it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
stick to the
And it
game
worked
plan.
out for you. Yeah.
Well, I got to bring it up too, Daryl, is we also had Nico Forbes on this show. He's a young player coming up and a really great player. And we like to joke about the fact that a slushy will really help you into that final round, especially mango. It'll calm your nerves and everything else. Do you have any rituals or routines that you'll do in the morning or before a round that'll kind of get you settled in and ready?
Not really, no, but round 2 and 3, I had chili for lunch, and they were my best rounds, so maybe that was the key.
That's it now. Yeah.
That's the new thing for
Yeah.
sure.
Was it homemade chili? Was it Tim's chili?
It was
Homemade.
Kim
Oh, there you
Gill.
go. Yeah.
very good.
Good stuff. Yeah. So how would you rank this win out of the 22 wins that you've had so far?
It's definitely the best so far.
Yeah. And is there anything specific about it to you that makes it feel the best? The fact that you're going to be able to watch it forever on camera or something like that?
Well, it was my highest event average, and it was definitely the biggest title I've taken down, a MPO A tier. So
Yeah. I mean, really, when you look back at it, it's hard to see any negatives. Like you led from the start, your best rated round, the biggest tournament, you're on coverage. You did it in front of cameras.
You only had 2 bogeys the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are amazing things. And so we don't know much about this course at all. How did you like the course? What was some of the things about it?
it's a good course. It was great before the hurricane, and it's still great, but it's definitely less challenging now.
Okay.
Before, you would come out with a 4 under or 5 under, and you thought that was a great round, and now it's, high 12s, 13s, and that's pretty good.
Right.
But it's a good mix of wooded and open holes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have any favorite holes on the course, or one that kind of stuck out more than any other one?
I'd say hole 4 probably. I always like throwing my MD1, so if you can get me throwing an MD1 on a hole, then I think it's a good hole.
Yeah. And what was the setup for hole 4? What did it look like?
It was a slow bending to the right shot with an OB gully before the basket. It was probably like 320 to 50 feet. I don't remember exactly, but
Okay. So bending to the right, did that mean you kind of had to turn it over and then bring it back at the end to not go into the gully, or?
yeah, slight turnover the whole way. It was
Oh.
shaped up for a forehand too, but mostly a backhand turnover.
Sweet. Yeah. No, that sounds like a good
Yeah.
hole. Kind of watching that flight when you nail that throw is always a beautiful thing, for sure. And I would ask you if you had any nemesis holes on the course, but with only 2 bogeys, I'm guessing there was no hole that really stuck out, like you weren't looking forward to playing or anything.
Well, I did throw out of bounds on hole 4 one round, so you could say that was the nemesis hole, but
Yeah.
it's hard not to like that hole.
Right. So it was the best and the nemesis at the
Yeah.
same time. We've had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a nemesis hole means I threw out of bounds, then I'll take that.
Yeah, exactly. And
I
was
hit this
there...
one
Go ahead. Yeah, tell us.
I hit this one tree that's like half of a tree, so it was kind of annoying, but
It's
it
half
is
of a
what it
tree.
is.
So was it one of the ones that might have been taken down in the hurricane or something like that? Or
Yep, the top was off. And I had to get past that, and I was safe, but
couldn't manage to do it, hey?
no.
Were there anything, whether it was off the course or on the course, what would you say were some of the memorable moments for you from the weekend? Of course, winning, but other than that.
I think hanging out with Ezra and Anthony Richard all week. All week was pretty cool. We played some glow golf at night. That was pretty fun.
Nice.
And it was like everyone. There was a lot of people staying on the course, so it was pretty cool hanging out with everyone. So that was
Cool.
pretty fun.
Yeah.
So do you have a whole collection of glow discs then, or just a handful that you like to go to when you're playing a glow round?
Most of the discs in my bag are glow, actually, so it was pretty
Oh.
easily to.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then also too, you know, you ever lose one on a course or something, just come back in the evening. You should be able to find it, hopefully.
There you go.
Yeah, Discmania's glow is pretty good. So
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't throw a lot of Discmania. I don't know about you, Jeremy. What makes the glow plastic your favorite?
I don't know. I think they just been coming out with glow plastic all year, and it's been flying really good. So it's not that it's glow that makes the bag; it's how it flies. But
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Daryl says we don't
Obviously been
bag.
working.
Yeah, I would say you say we don't bag a lot of Discmania, but I rely on my MD3 and my FD really regularly. So to me, what it is that I've got a few Discmania discs in my bag, and I rely on them heavily. I know exactly what they're going to do, and they're always going to do it. So I don't have to worry that, oh, this one's going to get flippy on me, because that's not what the discs do, and I really like that about them. But
yeah, when you get a new one, you know it's gonna fly the same if it's the same color.
yes. Oh, is that how it works? As long as it's the same color, it'll be pretty much the exact same mold?
Yeah, pretty much. They're different colors fly a little different, but if you find the color you like, you can always replace it.
Did you know that, Daryl?
Well, I know that Simon has often talked about his time lapse,
Right.
and that the different color
Oh, for
plastics will have
yeah.
different type of runs. But I didn't know that was the same across
with
all
this Mania as
manufacturers,
well.
Yeah.
Maybe not all manufacturers, but that's cool to know.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we like to do too, Dylan, is we reached out to some of your card mates and we said, hey, what did you think about playing with Dylan this weekend? Tell us some stories. And we got some great responses. So we thought we could share them with you. If you got any thoughts on it or can add to it, let us know. But we talked to Pierre Landry, and he said that he played on lead card with you on the final day. He said he saw you hit your first couple of putts and said, I quote, yeah, he's on today. No beating that guy. So that's pretty high praise, hey?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, she also reached out to Ezra as well, and he said it was epic to watch you make the putt or hit metal on almost everything inside of 70 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said also hats off to something you did at Glendale Disc Golf Course in the practice round. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, me, Anthony Richard, and Ezra, we're all throwing ace runs on this 250-foot hole. I think it's hole 13, white tees.
Okay.
And I threw like all the discs that made sense for me to throw righty, and then I grabbed an Essence and threw it lefty, and it went straight in the basket.
And you threw it left-handed?
Yeah,
Is that your first? Well, it's got to be your first only left-handed ace, right?
100%.
So then did you have to get everybody to sign the back of the disc with their left hand too, just to keep it authentic, or?
I didn't know. It wasn't my first shot, so not an ace,
That's
but
fair.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's the rule.
So can you throw pretty well left then? Obviously well enough to get an ace.
I've definitely practiced it before. I hurt my thumb on my right hand last year and played a little lefty for a while, but I mean, I'm not that great at it.
Well,
Is it good enough that if you had to in a tournament, you would play? Like, let's say, I'm not saying you would enter a tournament specifically to play left-handed, but you played 1 round, 2 rounds, and then you injured your thumb, you injured your wrist or whatever. Is it something that you would think, okay, I'll finish off the round, 3rd round, lefty?
Maybe in the middle of the round, but
Right.
I don't know. Definitely not before the round, probably, unless it's a big event, or I don't know.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
have you ever found yourself kind of close to a basket where you're not having to go that far and you're trying to get around a tree or something, and the left hand is the good option, like a left hand forehand or anything like that?
Never. I can't
No?
left-hand forehand to save my life, so.
That's fair.
Gotcha. Well, the last people that we reached out to is we talked with, messaged with Sam and Andrew Streeter, and I'm telling you, if I showed you what they sent, I just had word after word of nice things to say. So I've just snipped and paraphrased a few things here. And so they said you were a great player, you were a great card mate, They mentioned your mental strength on the course and said it didn't matter if players were pushing you or if a throw didn't go your way or the fact that a camera was on you. You were so mentally strong the whole weekend. Sam said he can't wait to come back to Canada to play and looks forward to playing against you and Ezra again. So he liked that. And then the other thing that I kind of got just while we were doing our research on that, it seemed like Sam has a pretty good forehand. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. He broke some of the holes pretty easily.
Okay.
Yeah. We heard that his forehand was outdriving some people's backhands.
100%. I'd say his forehand would outdrive 95% of the people there, if not like 99%
Wow.
of people's backhands.
So did you take some time to say, hey, dude, do you got any secrets on how to unlock that forehand?
I didn't, but maybe I'll do it this off season.
There you go.
Yeah. Something to work on.
So the other thing we wanted to do to you is at this point we get to the section of the show as I stumble through my words, Daryl. I'm very good with that. We talked about Discmania. Do you want to shout out your sponsors, and is there anyone else that you're sponsored by?
Yeah, Discmania and OTB Disc and Flickline Disc Golf.
Okay. And how long have you been with Discmania?
This is my first year.
Awesome.
Nice.
Getting to that point where we're getting towards the end of the year, how do you feel about your first year with Discmania and actually being sponsored by a disc manufacturer?
It feels great. My bag is 100% complete now, I feel like, and it's just about getting extra runs of discs that I already have in my bag, and it's very easy to replace.
Right.
Yeah. Have you reached out to any, do you know any other Canadian Discmania sponsored event athletes as well? We know we've had Miguel Alvarado and Max Rajitnik from the West Coast. Do you know anybody, are you swapping discs? Did you get any tips from anybody else?
The only one I've talked to is Ezra.
Okay.
I met him this past week, so it was pretty cool to talk to him about that stuff.
Yeah.
Neat. And was your bag, did you throw a lot of Discmania before you were sponsored, or did it take some time to switch out some molds to get Discmania molds in?
I threw probably 1/3 Discmania. The other thirds were Discraft and Innova.
Okay.
Nice.
And then what would be your kind of go-to disc right now in your bag from Discmania?
Definitely the MD1. It's probably one of my favorite discs to throw.
Nice. Good. And then on the other side, you said you have OTB and then you have Flickline as well. And how do they support you as sponsors?
OTB, they're the U.S. Shop where you can get this. They do a bunch of stuff. Whatever I do in events, they support me and send me credit for stuff. And
nice.
Flickline Disc Golf, I can't really cover everything they do for me because it's a lot, but
yeah, they're a big name out on the East Coast, hey?
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Do you have any coupons or codes that people can use if they want to order anything from anywhere?
You can use Dylan20 to get 20% off at Discmania.
Okay.
But
Perfect.
I believe tonight is the last night, so if you're watching live, then good for you. If you're not, then not, I guess.
Yeah. And if you are on the East Coast and you're watching live, you better be quick because it's going to be close to midnight when you're watching this right now. So, no, that's awesome. Well,
Perfect.
that's great, Dylan. Well, thanks for being on the show. Is there anything else that we didn't cover or anything that you'd like to shout out?
No, everything was good.
Awesome. Well, we definitely have you on our radar, and we're going to be watching you for the rest of the season and into next year, and we appreciate you coming on and sharing some stories about the Discmania Open. Congrats again.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks for joining.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. What a
That was
fantastic interview.
Yeah, a great interview with Dylan, great interview with Rose. I think even being that far apart, we noticed a little bit of lag in there, but everybody worked really well to kind of help us carry that through. And thanks to Ben and Luke for joining us.
Yeah.
Now, I like to say at this point, if you like what you see, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, like, tag, comment, do all those things. Anything we can do to get more activity and more things happening on our channels and our pages
Yeah.
will help us to get more, what do you call that? A little bit more,
Traction.
that's the word.
Yeah.
A little bit more traction.
A little bit more eyes on disc golf. That's what we're about.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Just let's get Canadian players in front of as many people as we can. And as we get into the off season, as we talk about it, we'll get into other people in Canadian disc golf, whether it's more tournament directors, store owners. Like we even had Tristan Piska on before, who was a physiotherapist who worked on people with disc golf injuries. So if you want to hear from somebody, put it in our comments and let us know, and we'll work on trying to get them on the show.
And like we've said before, if there's somebody that you want to be on our podcast, don't just put it in our comments. Tag them. Go to their posts. Tag them with Chain Out Podcast. Say, hey, you'd be a great guest to be on the Chain Out Podcast. And then maybe, that'll at least, when we reach out to them and say, hey, we're Chain Out Podcast, do you want to be on our podcast? They'll at least have some idea where we've come from to get to that point. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's awesome. Now, one thing here before we wrap up is we were doing our Chance Stad Entropy disc giveaway. And I've got the disc here, brought it over here to Daryl's, and we've got the signature on there and everything. This is a sweet, what color would you call that? Like a teal green, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what color green I would call that. I'm trying to think of a chartreuse. Is that a chartreuse?
Oh, wow. Look at you with your
I don't
fancy
know.
colors. And some purple on there. We got Cthulhu. We got some other hidden gems in there that you can try and identify. But we are giving this disc away to everyone who liked our post and subscribed and did all of that.
We did our draw already.
Yes.
Drum roll, please.
Here we go. All right. Congratulations. Neon Hippie Witch is the winner of the Chance Stad Entropy. So thank you so much for liking and being part of that post. And we're going to look to have more discs and more things to give away in future shows as we go along.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we teased in the beginning, we like to have a secret word.
Yes, we do.
Now, we didn't have anything from the chat. Nobody's put a secret word in the chat. So it's up to us to come up with a secret word, Jeremy.
I think there's so many secret words. There could be leaf blower. Could be you tell me which one's going to be. I'll throw some out there.
Okay, you go for it.
Leaf blower.
I like it.
Croson Wren.
Oh, Crows and Wren's good.
Pat the Patat.
Pat la patat, that's good.
I like that. What can we get from Dylan's one there? Left-handed ace. I don't know, something like that.
Lefty ace.
Yeah. There's so many good things from this show that we could use.
Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Crows and Patat. Crows and Wren.
Crows and Wren.
Yeah.
All right.
Krose
WREN.
If you've listened this far, if you're watching on YouTube, if you've watched this far, leave a comment on the video. Somehow work the words Crows and Wren into a sentence. Not everyone will know what you're talking about, but we will. We'll know that you listened this far in the episode, and we appreciate it.
Yes. Well, Daryl, you know what's going to happen now?
What's going to happen?
I'm really loving being back at Langholm in St. Albert. I've aced hole 1 with my Simon Lazatl Hex.
You have.
I've forehand aced hole 5 with my light pink resistor. Next hole is going to be hole number 9. I'm going to take that resistor. It's that same type of shot as hole number 5. It's just a little bit longer. I'm going to take that resistor. I'm going to pull it back with a little bit more force, a little bit more flick, put it on that Annie line, watch it curve around the fairway, go over to the trees, head towards that basket. Those Langholm baskets are money.
There's only one thing it's going to do.
There's only one thing it can not do.
It's not going to do.
Yeah, one thing it's going to do. I knew you were going to go
That's where we go with that.
Yeah, there's one thing it can't do. That pink resistor.
It would never.
So do you want to come with me and then I'll get your signature on the back when that thing aces?
Yeah, I need to sign one of your discs. Yeah.
Because it will never.
It won't ever.
Chain out!
Thanks, everybody. Thanks
See
for
you next
sticking with
time.
us.